All right, well, thanks everyone for joining. I'm sure we'll have more joining us here shortly. We usually have quite a bit of trickle in after our start time. So thanks for everyone for joining. This is our January 2025 Doug Meetup for the Florida Panhandle, although not all of us are local. So thanks for everyone for joining. So before we start, a little bit about Doug or Dynamics User Group. We're about 45,000 community members strong. This is a free community to join. So if you are not a member and you just happened upon this group in LinkedIn or you're interested in joining, you can visit www.dynamicsusergroup.com. It's a free community to join. And it's a very large group where you can learn, share your knowledge, and continue to grow in your profession. So as we get started, a few rules of engagement. Be courteous. Listen as others are speaking. Use the raise hand feature to ask questions or drop your questions in the chat. Feel free to contribute to the meeting. So if you have a question or something you want to add or say, again, use that raise hand feature or drop that in the chat. We also have the question and answer function enabled as well. And also let everyone participate. If you have some questions, ask one question and wait for others to ask additional questions before you bombard with multiple questions if you do have them, but we do want to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. So Dynamics User Groups has a variety of programs that are free to the community. So right now we're doing a Doug Meetup. So this is a regional one kind of sort of, but we are virtual at this time. There's a lot of different opportunities. There's conferences. We have DynamicsCon in person coming up in May. There's YouTube where you can watch a lot of presentations from meetups like this or other content that's out there. So there's a lot of different platforms you can go to learn more about the Dynamics ecosystem. Some regional meetups that are coming up. We did just have one last month earlier this month in Tampa, Florida. But we do have some coming up in March. We will be in Philadelphia. In April, we'll be in Copenhagen, Denmark. Toronto in Canada in June, and in West Africa in July. Another one in East Africa in July as well, and those dates are defined. Colorado in August, Ohio in August as well, and then Dallas, Texas in September. So if you're interested in any of those, keep an eye out on Dynamics User Group website so you can get more information and join those free in-person regional meetups. And the big one, so we do have DynamicsCon, what used to be called DynamicsCon Live, but it's just DynamicsCon now in Chicago, May 13th. Oh, this one always jumps ahead on me. May 13th through 16th. There is a code if you would like to join in person for a free ticket. This is good until February 28th, so use the code MEETUPMember. If you've already purchased your ticket, you can't get a refund at this point, but if you have not purchased it and you are interested in going, feel free to use this code. It's a great way to get your boss to send you and say, hey, I got a free ticket. So if you're interested, check out dynamicscon.com to register. The list of sessions that have been accepted is posted out there. The agenda is coming shortly. It's a great lineup, so feel free to join us and enjoy all the fun. Don't miss out. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Jinnie for our highly anticipated session on BPA. So Jinnie, I'll turn it over to you. You are on mute.
Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you again for the invitation and thank you all for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Like Brittany said, let's keep it as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. I'm also going to post a couple of links in the chat. If you don't have access to the chat, do let me know. And I can make sure I can make a deck or something available to everyone after this. So I'm going to go through an overview of BPA. Just so I don't bore you, has anybody here encountered BPA, installed BPA, or have any familiarity with it? Okay, very good. So I will just then go through an overview of BPA. Please again stop me if you have any questions. I'll also go through a quick demo of the actual tool. And actually, I'm going to stop sharing, start sharing again. I have a short video to show you as well. So if there's something that in particular that you'd like to see, do let me know. So go ahead and get started. So what is business performance analytics? And so business performance analytics is something that as Microsoft, we started this journey about almost 4 years ago now. And we decided that there needed to be a way to be able to get our customers' data into a central location in a central format in order for customers to be enabled with analytics and reporting and insights. And our tagline is we want to be able to turn your data into action and improve your business performance. So we'll start with this little box in the bottom left, and you'll see the Dynamics 365 modules, right? So we have finance, HR, commerce, supply chain, and project operations. And we have data from all of these sources. Essentially, all that data ends up in finance and creates transactions that make up our financial statements, and they're really important. And so in order to be able to do analytics on it, we need to be able to create a data factory or a data warehouse that essentially in a model format that allows everything to be connected, right? So we started off with the finance model. The finance model, what we did was we looked at all the finance business processes and we started to model for each one of them. And I'll go into it a little bit more. And then the second box is that we realized also that customers have data outside of Dynamics, right? You may have a legacy system, or you may have a payroll system or a SaaS system that you're using. And that data is a lot of times very pertinent towards your analytics as well. And so typically what we see customers do is build these warehouses or cubes or even Excel workbooks that are pretty complex and pulling data from many sources. So we decided we're going to take your data and we're going to build models from it. And like I said, we modeled each value chain. So like a value chain, the definition of it would be a list of business processes that are grouped together. So for example, a record to report would be general ledger and budget. Procure to pay would be anything from a purchase requisition all the way down to a purchase payment. Order to cash would be anything from a sales order all the way to a sales payment. We included banking in there as well. And then acquire to retire would be fixed assets and leasing. So we took all these data models, we created data models for each business process, put together these value chains, and then we put a level of security on top of that. So you have security in F&O that is role-based security, right? So you can set up security by role. So your accounting manager has security, your controller has security, a certain level of security. But in BPA, we had to create separate security because it's not just form access. Now it's data access. So sometimes within a form, you may not be able to see some pieces of data, whereas when you're in the data and in tables, you can see everything. So we had to set a new level of security. In addition to that, we created another level of security where we allow you to select 5 reporting dimensions and secure them. So you can set security at your, say, your cost center level or your department level, and be able to distribute your reports that way as well. Now, on top of all of this is what we build our analytics. So we didn't write another reporting tool. We decided to use Power BI and Excel, 2 of the most powerful report writing tools on the market. We all end up in Excel at the end of the day anyway. And so we decided, well, why don't we just create a connection into Excel so that any reports written in Excel will refresh. Same thing for Power BI. A lot of companies are switching towards Power BI for dashboards and for external integration of data. So we decided to build on top of that. In addition to that, we're also working on creating insights, say cash flow forecasting or payment prediction coming out of BPA as well. Of course, I'm sure you've heard of Copilot and how important it is. So Copilot will also sit on top of the data, this data, as well as we've created opportunities for extensibility in Fabric using the BPA data model. So If there are any questions, I'll stop. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going so that I can give you more of a picture of what I just talked about. Okay, so if you do want to come off mute and you want me to pay attention, you can go ahead and raise your hand. Otherwise, just come off and start talking. So I'm going to start off with a little video. It'll take about 2 minutes, and then I'll come back on again.
Introducing Business Performance Analytics, a centralized reporting and insights hub within Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. Business Performance Analytics is designed to streamline your financial and operational insights and help you make faster, data-driven decisions. At the heart of Business Performance Analytics are pre-built reports powered by an end-user-friendly data model that cover core financial and operational processes like procure to pay, record to report, and order to cash. These reports give you a quick and comprehensive view of your financial performance right out of the box. But Business Performance Analytic doesn't stop there. If you need something more specific, you have the flexibility to modify existing reports or even create your own, all tailored to your unique business needs. One of Business Performance Analytics' standout features is dimensional role-level security, ensuring that users only see the data relevant to them based on their role. This means you can confidently share reports without duplicating them, as the data is automatically filtered by your organization's security policies. It's a simple but powerful way to maintain control while providing access. For teams that love working in Excel, Business Performance Analytics integrates seamlessly with Analyze in Excel, allowing you to export and explore data using pivot tables and formulas. And if your organization is leveraging Power BI, Business Performance Analytic integrates deeply, giving you access to curated reports and enabling advanced visualizations. Lastly, Business Performance Analytics integrates with Microsoft Fabric, providing a scalable, secure environment for handling large datasets and ensuring your insights are always powered by the latest technology. In short, Business Performance Analytics delivers a robust, secure, and flexible platform for business leaders, helping you get the most from your data while staying agile and informed. Thank you. Introducing Business.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions so far and anything you've seen? Okay, so why is BPA really important, right? We understand that we come from a place where a lot of times there's a lot of siloed data across systems. Business visibility might be limited by department or even by maybe org, like different locations or different geos. Of course, there's operational inefficiencies where report writing or analytics or month-end close is very slow because we just don't have the insights that we need, therefore making manual, slow decision-making. Now, and when it comes down to the adoption of AI and automation, which I'm sure is a buzzword in a lot of companies, it really limits it because what data is AI going to be reading off of, and is it complete, right? That's one of a big thing. And the rigid solutions that exist currently are expensive to convert, right? So that there isn't really a one-size-fits-all scenario that could work. Whereas BPA, what we plan on doing is whatever system you're in, we allow you to create a unified view of your data, right? So you not only bring data in from D365, but any external systems as well, giving you the ability then to do analytics that are cross-entity. You can view any BPA report across legal entities, so you're never just looking at one legal entity at a time. And this will, definitely streamline and optimize your processes for month-end close or quarter-end close or even for audits. We are working towards near real-time refreshes. And then, of course, with the unified data model, and being that the data model is so complete, it's ideal for any AI-driven insights and automation. And as from what you just saw, BPA is highly customizable, right? So one of the main goals we started off with was to democratize report writing. We don't anticipate every finance person is going to become a report writer or every operations person is going to become a report writer, but we wanted to enable anybody in the company to be able to add or remove fields as needed, to be able to get what they need without having to put in an IT ticket or wait for a consultant to come help them. So I'm going to get a little bit into the architecture of how BPA works. If there are any questions, again, go ahead and come off of mute or go ahead and put it in the chat. So BPA, essentially what we do is we take your operational tables out of F&O. So some of you may be familiar with them as, as AX tables, right? We take your AX tables out of F&O and we bring them into the Dataverse, and it's just as is. We create virtual entities. Now, once those tables come into the Dataverse, and if you've ever undertaken a warehouse project, you know that those operational tables are really complex and really difficult to figure out, like what joins with what to give you a complete, say, invoice, right? A sales invoice or a purchase invoice. So it's very complex. So we bring the tables in that way, and then we create customized tables from it, our analytical tables. We've chosen to model the BPA data model using dimensional modeling. So if you're familiar at all with Roger Kimball, he essentially wrote the book on dimensional modeling. And so what it is, it puts the data in a format that is, number one, simple to understand. You'll see simple names like purchase order, invoice, a purchase order, purchase invoice, general ledger, budget. So if you're looking for data, say invoice data, you just go to the purchase invoice table. And then what we did is we had all those tables that we wrote, and we brought them all into Power BI. We created a Power BI data set, and that's where we created relationships. So now I can look at an invoice, and I can look at a corresponding payment that is associated with it. Or I can do an invoice report and pull in all my PO numbers to be on the same report, and also maybe even payment numbers. I can also do GL to subledger reporting. I could look at a GL transaction and I could see subledger detail behind it. And so that kind of cross ledger reporting is now possible within BPA. After those Power BI data sets were created, then this box on top. So based on that, we write our insights. We give you that data model in Excel. We give you that data model in Power BI. And in the demo, I'll show you what that looks like. In addition to all of this, the Power BI app, which is essentially Power BI embedded within a model-driven app, we also give you the ability to extend that very same data set, those very same tables as shortcuts into Fabric. So anybody have a lot of interest in Fabric? So I know how much time I should spend talking about it. Maybe a show of hands. Okay. Okay, Brittany. Okay. I will chat a little bit on Fabric then. So, and I'll actually show you what it looks like. So let me move on. So BPA went to GA last October. So what's available in BPA today is we have the full record to report, procure to pay, and order to cash data models in BPA. So there are reports available, and we have the ability to extend it into Fabric. And of course, you can report in Power BI and Excel. So let me move right into a quick demo, because I feel like that always gives us a better idea. So the first time you come into BPA, you're going to come into the administration page. So the admin page will take you to the ability to link to a Fabric environment, but it also gives you the ability to set up your security. So this is where you would select your dimensions. So you could come in here, you could select whatever dimensions you want to bring in. So if I say select dimensions, you'll see I'll be able to select from my ledger dimension, which is my legal entity, but I'll also be able to select 5 dimensions from my reporting dimensions. My financial dimensions, I can select 5 of them, up to 5 in total dimensions that I could use for reporting. So I come in here, right now I have business unit, cost center, and I'll say department as well. And then once I save it, it becomes available here. Then I can go ahead and I can set up a dimension group. And I can say, let's look at this one, all access dimension group. This one says I can access all of them. Otherwise, I can specify maybe business unit 001, cost center 300, department 5, right? And then I can see which users are associated with that dimension group. I can also set up roles, and within a role, I can also grant all the Microsoft reports this role has access to, as well as the user. And finally, I set up users. My users enable from users in the Dataverse. So whoever set up in the Dataverse with Azure Active Directory, they'll show up here, and I'll be able to set them up with a dimension group and a role. So let's go back to administration home. In addition to that, we are building out this diagnostics page. So for example, if you come into BPA and your reports are not reporting, not refreshing, or there's something wrong with your user configuration, or you see a little notification next to this bell, you can come in here and read your messages from Microsoft, or you can come in here and you can check your status and be able to correct them here as well. There'll be a little correct, if this is red, there'll be a little remedy button there. You can click it and it'll fix it for you. This is very new, very rudimentary right now, but we're working on building this out so that you have a self-service dashboard. Let's go to the reports. So BPA comes with 14 reports out of the box. You'll see 15 here because we have a documentation report. So first I'll address the 14 reports. The out-of-the-box reports are just your base financial reports with some sub-ledger reporting like transaction, dimension reports, trial balance, aging reports, invoice and payment reports. And then you've also got your balance sheet, a budget to actual comparison, financial performance, and then we have some general ledger transaction reports as well. In addition to all of that, and we'll go and look at some reports shortly, but I'll show you the documentation report first. The documentation report is something that we wrote and will continue to build on. And this, because it's a data model and because we want to be transparent with how it's been written and give you some insights, we've created 3 sources within this report. The first one is a bus matrix. The bus matrix essentially shows you all the facts, so all the transaction tables and all the dimensions that are associated with it. So for example, like you'll see a purchase invoice fact can conform with an asset, or all the facts conform over to accounting date. And if I scroll over, I can see that I have legal entity across all of them. I have procurement category for all my purchase, procure to pay, my P2P model, and I have product, I have project, and I have all my invoice numbers, like invoice number, PO number, and all of that. The second thing you'll see here is a table mapping. And this one, a lot of our customers love a lot because it gives transparency. But what we show you here is that we say, okay, this is the BPA analytical table that was written. And then this is the column name. And then we show you this is the semantic table. So if you're looking in BPA, instead of seeing DMO underscore asset dim, you're going to see dim asset. And then we also give you the column names. But then what we do is we give you the mapped table in F&O. So now if you're looking and you want to know where's asset coming from, right? It's coming from asset table, asset group. So if a lot of IT folks and a lot of like analysts usually really enjoy this because if they've written queries on their own, they now know what translates over. Finally, we give you a measures glossary. And this is basically because we've created some standard measures out of the box and formulas, right, within BPA, we tell you what every one of them is. So that way, if you're looking at a number and it looks like it's not completely right, you can come in here and say, okay, how did Microsoft calculate this? And are we looking at this correctly? So you can come in here and you can understand what we used in that calculation so that you can make a determination of whether to use it or not. Okay. And I don't see any hands yet, so I'm going to keep going, okay? So let's go back to reports. Now, within each report, you have the opportunity to look at a report. So I'm going to go back to Microsoft Reports. You'll see the file type Power BI, type Microsoft. All of these reports were written by Microsoft, and so you can go into any one of these reports and use them, right? You can use them right out of the box. But say I go into a balance sheet, and I look at the balance sheet and I said, well, this doesn't look like a report that would come out of my company because I need this balance sheet to look different. Currently, right now, I have it in accounting currency. I have it pulling for all my legal entities, and I've got it for 1 year, but I've got it summed by currency. And so if I come in here, And I just go ahead and expand this down. Maybe expand it one more time. And say, maybe I say, okay, I'm just looking at it by year and a GL amount, budget, and variance. Maybe I know I want to change how this looks. Every single one of these reports, you can come up here and you can hit the duplicate button. Now, I'm just, for the sake of time, I'm going to go back to an existing report. If I click on the duplicate button, what it does is it then gives me the identical report. But now when I go into the top, I have an edit option. So if you've used any of the embedded reports in F&O, it's very similar experience. Now you're an embedded Power BI. You have full access to edit this report. But in addition to that, you also have full access to the whole dimensional model. So now, just like in any Power BI report, you can remove fields, you can add visuals, you can remove visuals, you can add slicers, you can remove slicers. You can do almost everything. You are limited. Being in Power BI embedded is that you cannot bring in data from external sources. You cannot create new measures. And there are some like purchased visuals that don't work in Power BI embedded. So aside from that, everything else is fully at your fingertips. Now, are there any reports that you see here that you might want me to click on, or if you have any further questions on? Okay.
Hey, Jinnie. This is Rachit.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi, Rachit. How are you?
Cool,
I'm
doing
good,
good. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, just want to understand, like we have seen some very good demos of the app, and the documentation is quite good from a functional perspective. From a technology perspective, we are still missing a bit more detailed information, like how the data is flowing from FNO to the Microsoft managed storage, and then it's flowing all the way to BPA. And we have scenarios where we would like to enhance it, add more data models to the layer. So can we get any like deep dive technical white papers for these platforms? Like, is there any source you would recommend where we can learn more about it from technology perspective? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. That's one thing that we have been working on to put out is kind of an overall technical architecture paper. I think one of the reasons why we haven't completely done that is because our architecture is evolving as we speak, right? Right now we're on Dataverse. Eventually we're going to move mostly on, and utilize Fabric more, right? Because we want to move away from currently our import mode into direct lake mode. So what we continue to do right now is I would recommend, like, especially around anything to do with extensibility, is to come into the BPA learn documents and leverage some of this information here. I also do really frequent architecture updates in the cabs as well as my office hours weekly. So if you join our cab or our Yammer group, hopefully that'll be a good place. But Rachit, I will chat with my architect and see if we can put out something that we can keep updated. That way it'll be a good reference point for anyone who's asking, what's the architecture look like?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Happy to connect offline and see how we can help.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Great. Okay, so I'll just click into a couple. So like a vendor aging report, for example, does have aging calculations and buckets built into it. However, we don't, like in F&O, we allow you to configure buckets and we allow you to configure intervals. Here we've established, essentially 5 buckets and 3 intervals, 3 interval options. But you can age as of a certain date and establish a balance as of a certain date. And you can also age by transaction date, due date, or document date. So I don't have any data in here, unfortunately, for this one. Let's see. Yeah. So what we've done is we try to take some reports that took a long time to run in F&O, and we brought them into BPA to hopefully be able to give us more opportunity to provide better speed in reporting. So really quickly, I'm going to jump and show you a little bit around Fabric. So if I go to Administration Home and I go Manage Fabric, I've already got the tab open. What happens when you extend into Fabric is you're going to create shortcuts into Fabric. So you're not actually bringing those tables over. You're just getting shortcuts to the actual tables in Dataverse. And you create a lake house essentially with all of the facts and dimensions that are in Dataverse. And so you can see your tables here. Now, the power behind this is a couple of things happen, right? Once you bring it into Fabric, the one thing that you do lose is security. So you lose the ability to bring over that security, but you can establish your own row level security here. The other thing is that you have two options. You can either bring over our data set, our pre-configured data set that has the renaming and the relationships already set up. You can take that data set and bring it in here and then establish your connections here and then build your own data set. Say you just want a P2P data set or you just want a GL data set, right? You can do that here. And you can also bring in additional fields. So you can bring data from other sources. So you can go get data, right? Build a data pipeline or bring data flow in or just upload an Excel file even and create relationships to our data and continue your modeling over here. Oh, really quick question off the topic. Is the recommendation to use Fabric Link instead of Synapse Link? We're still using Synapse Link. I think Fabric Link is still pretty early on in the story. So, but we are, like I said, we are going to move on to Fabric. So as it matures, it might be a better option. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the common pattern we are also looking in the industry,
Yeah.
Jennie. Like most of the data engineers and architects are recommending Fabric Link, although it's a bit costly than Synapse Link, but in terms of the platform, it's more powerful, gives us more options. And as you said, it creates a direct link, so we don't have to copy data across. So it
Yeah.
has some benefits. Yeah.
Yeah. And we actually start a POC next week to see how it'll work with BPA data and how it'll enable us to bring more volume data for our customers as well.
Yeah, cool.
Right. So going back to the deck real quick, how do you use BPA? So when we first started going down this journey, we wanted to provide customers with an out-of-the-box experience managed environment, which is what you were seeing. Microsoft manages your data model. Microsoft manages your reports, right? Like we pre-write your reports for you. You can just edit, or you can create your own reports. Either way, but we do all of that. We manage your pipeline and everything. But what we've seen is that as customers, you need so much more, right? And so what we are seeing is that we have customers that use them both. Customers that use out-of-the-box analytics and insights, usually for the finance team, because it's immediate value, right? They have cross-company reporting, right, immediately. They have comprehensive reporting. They can create dashboards easily. Analytics are near real time. They have insights, and interface is super easy and useful and very familiar with Excel and Power BI, and it's cost effective. But we also see the same customers extend BPA into their Fabric environment because they want to build out their data models. A lot of customers we talked to are already on this journey to build out the data models, and the thing that is really costly is managing the models, right? Figuring out the relationships, managing the relationships as Microsoft makes changes or as your needs change. And so once they learn about BPA, then they look at adopting that into whatever warehouse solution they're building so that at least the model part of it, Microsoft will manage and update for you. How much does BPA cost? Like everybody wants to know this. So BPA is actually included in your finance license. So your base finance license, not finance premium or anything. It's your base finance license, but it does come with limitations. So right now, because we're still using direct import mode into Power BI, it only fits about eight quarters of data for some customers, or whatever customers can fit into an A3 SKU. So we can scale up more if you don't have a large data volume. And currently, since we just went to GA, we are at 2 data refreshes a day, so 12 a.m., 12 p.m. GMT. But this, excuse me, this will change by April. We're going to go to more like 1 hour refreshes. So it'll refresh like every 1 hour. And then we just look at improving that, right? So we go to 1 hour refresh, and then hopefully we'll go to a 20 or 30-minute refresh, and then we go to like maybe a 5-minute refresh eventually. And what's the timeline for all of that? I would say to get to a 5-minute refresh, we're probably going to be maybe 1.5 years out. And then extensibility is also part of it. So the ability to extend into Fabric. Now you have to bring your own Fabric environment. So you got to buy your own Fabric license. But the ability to extend the data model and use the data model in Fabric is all part of your finance license. So there's no additional charge for BPA. Excuse me. So what's on the roadmap? So October 2024, we went to GA with the P2P, R2R, and ODC data models. We have extensibility in Excel. By April of 2025, you will have the more frequent data refreshes. We've already, in this next release, we've given you an ability to back up and restore reports. So that means you can write reports and back them up so that you always have your reports. And then you can also back up reports from a sandbox environment and restore into a production environment. BPA is being rolled out to be supported in all public clouds. For now, the only place we're not going to be supporting is France because of the language requirements. So we don't have, it's in English right now. So until we move it onto other languages, we can't roll it into France. The acquire to dispose model, which is fixed assets and leasing, will roll out by April. And of course, the more frequent data refreshes, as well as the remaining O2C facts. So like sales order, sales, I think it's the sales deferrals, and those facts are all starting to roll out. Actually, they're all actually on this January release. So if you install BPA now, by the time February rolls around and most of those releases hit your region, you'll be able to see all these improvements. Excuse me. Now, by August of this year, we'll have extensibility. So what that means is right now, BPA doesn't allow you to bring in your custom fields. And I know this is a big issue for everybody. You have to do that in Fabric right now. But by August, it'll be included in the BPA data model. So you won't have to do it in Fabric. You'll be able to see your custom fields in our managed solution. We're also going to do some back-end work where we're going to move our form entities into tables in the lake so it's faster. So your processing will be faster. And then of course the extensibility. And then as we head into December, towards the end of the year, we're going to give you control to be able to enable and disable business processes, right? So just say you want to use BPA only for record to report and maybe order to cash or procure to pay, and you don't want to see fixed assets or anything, you can turn off fixed assets. We're also going to be moving to a direct lake mode. So what this means is that if you have a lot of volume right now, and say you only get 2 to 3/4 of data, by December, that'll enable you to get a lot more data. How much, we won't be able to tell you right now, but stay tuned and we'll be able to calculate this eventually over time and tell you how much data you can bring in. And then also we're going to work towards progressive data loading. So first time you load BPA, we're not just going to throw everything in there and then go, oops, we can't load this much. What we'll do is we'll start with progressive data loading. So we'll bring in, say, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, so that you are successful the first time. And then we'll tell you, okay, we were able to bring in 4 years worth of data. And this is all included in your finance license. So that'll be by the end of this year. And then more data models. So like I showed you earlier, we have our finance data model, but we're going to expand. We're going to do project operations, supply chain, manufacturing. Like the inventory model is probably going to be next. HR is also on the roadmap for us. And then beyond December 25, there'll be more data models and definitely more capabilities. So please stay tuned because we continue to update this roadmap every month with better timing and more features as we roll them out. So we'd love to stay accountable to you on that. So like I put the links in the chat, we do invite you to be part of our CAB. One great way to do this is join our Yammer group. So there's the hyperlink that we have up there, aka.msbpa CAB, will take you straight to our Yammer page. Once you join there, you'll have links to the CAB meetings, which is every Thursday. Every last Thursday of the month at 8 a.m. PST. I also host office hours. So once you've installed BPA, if you have questions, you want to learn how to write reports, anything like that, you can join an office hours. And those are held Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 8 a.m. PST and 4 p.m. PST. And try to cover a global audience with this. And in addition to that, you can always feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have. So I think I'm going to go next to answer some questions. If there are any questions.
The feedback, the session was great. Thanks, Jinnie, for sharing the roadmap.
Okay, thank you, Ratchet.
So just one more question, Jinnie.
Yeah.
Again, might slightly related to financial reporting. So like Microsoft has released the new unified development environment infrastructure, and we are uh, uh, it's recommended to use it for new implementations, but that doesn't support financial reporter, but it supports BPA. So what's the vision of Microsoft? Like, is there any investment in financial reporter, or what we used to call as management reporter tool? Because that's where we struggle a bit. Like, we have to then have a tier 2 environment in LCS to configure management reports. And then rest all is in UDE. So we are still in a bit of a hybrid environment landscape in our implementation. So just want to see what's your thought. Like, is there a roadmap for financial reporting tool?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are no immediate plans to deprecate financial reporting, right? But then, in the interest of time, we do believe that more customers are going to migrate over to BPA because of the ease of reporting and the data model itself. BPA is going to offer you a much richer model, which will enable you not only to do your financial reporting, but your sub-ledger reporting as well as your operational reporting as well. But we do have to improve BPA to get it to be at the same level as financial reporting, right? Like with a near real time for month end and things like that. So, the eventual roadmap is that there will be some convergence and switch over.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, thanks. That helps. Yeah.
Great. Let me see if I have anything else. Okay, yeah. If there are no questions at all, I can go ahead and hand it back to Brittany. And thank you, Gav, again for the invitation. As always, please do reach out if there are any further questions, or if you have anybody in your company that you think would really benefit from learning more about BPA. Please feel free to forward them these links, or you can have them contact me directly. Happy to chat with them.
No, thanks. I think lots of people are just taking in the information. There's lots to unwind and get my head. I'm still processing it. I'm trying to think of a great question, but I'm still putting things together. So.
Yeah, I try to think of ways to concise. It is a huge undertaking, and it's a lot of learning, but it's one of the reasons why we do our office hours and we have our cabs, is to engage the conversation. So if you're ever interested in learning more, those are great places to learn. The Yammer group, I put every single meeting I have in a recording there, and I usually put a summary of it as well. So a quick place to learn and just see what's going on.
Are you guys finding any particular industries taking up the BPA more than anywhere else? Is there any patterns from that perspective?
So because currently the data model is centered on finance, we've got like a pretty varied industry group, from services to retail, and even manufacturing. And so we're getting a lot of push to come up with retail models and commerce models and manufacturing models because they want to extend it. So we haven't had one particular industry that's been interested. It's been pretty varied. The commerce side of things has been super interested in what we're doing, and so we're looking at supporting them in with data models as well. Another thing that you can see in the that I didn't put quite in the roadmap because we don't have it there yet, but sustainability reporting is going to come out of BPA eventually. So we'll have sustainability data that you can bring into BPA and report with your financial data. So for your carbon emissions and how it impacts your purchases and things like that. In addition to that, field services. So moving away from the ERP into CE. So if you use field services, that data model is also going to come into BPA.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we have clients in asset management industry who use field service and FNO together to manage their operations. So that would be really handy to have all the data models flowing into BPA and it becomes your centralized reporting tool.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I actually started, I wrote the data model for BPA last week. I mean, sorry, for field services last week. They don't currently report on, they don't currently offer dashboards on fixed assets. And so we haven't quite built that integration, but once we release that model, it'd be interesting to hear what's needed. So and we can definitely build on it, right? So we'll build out the base model first and then continue to add to it. That's the beauty of a dimensional data model.
I'll ask kind of a silly question, but I always like to ask this one. What's your favorite feature of BPA? I know it's like asking like which of your children is your favorite, but what's your favorite feature of it, or something you don't think people or is like the most people don't really appreciate as much? Like, what's your favorite?
So BPA is my dream project. My background is in finance and accounting. I was a controller and a CFO for about 22 years before I joined Microsoft. And I joined in Microsoft Finance, but I hated it. So I tried to make a breakout and I made a break into product management. And when they gave me this project to work on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been doing my entire career. Every company I've gone to, I've always built some sort of a data model or some sort of reporting repository. But being able to build a data model to this scale, that's not just finance data, but I can integrate with external data. So I think my most favorite part of BPA, in addition to the product itself, is the composability. Like you can write all kinds of reports eventually, right? And that's the goal. Is like I want to make sure that BPA is usable and useful to everyone. Like I want, like an accountant should be able to go, I want an AP report and I want these extra fields in here, and they can just pull it in and they can get the reporting at their fingertips as easy as anything else. So yeah, that's my favorite piece.
I'm really looking forward to the inventory and costing pieces to be part of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and Heather, are you currently a BPA user or have you looked into it at your company?
So I just recently joined a new company, but the former one that I was with, I was actually using it to appoint, and I was attending your other, I think it was office.
The CAB, maybe, the Customer Advisory Board?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
got to see some of that, and then we were working in the earlier release, pre-release versions
Oh,
of
yeah.
it. So I got to play with it a little bit.
Okay, very good.
But yes, I think the inventory and cost ones were the ones we were really looking forward to being able to get in there and use, because that's a place where we don't seem to have as much in some, places reporting detail that we'd like to see.
Yeah. Yeah. The inventory data model, actually, we've already modeled. I do plan on showing it at some point in the CAB just as a model itself, with the fields and what it's going to look like. So yeah, if you have any feedback on that or on what you're expecting, costing model will come a little bit further down the road, but yeah, definitely in the roadmap.
Mhm.
I think that's it. Anyone has any last minute things, or feel free to connect with Jinnie, obviously on LinkedIn as well, to follow up. But yeah, I think good. But Jinnie, I'm pleased to tell you this is probably one of our best turnouts since we started last year. I think Brittany was slugging away at the start of 24. That got me involved mid-year, and we've trying to get momentum. So really appreciate you coming through, and we tried to mix it up, and we were with the sessions this year because I think naturally it's been lots of F&O, so we tried to come at F&O from a different angle. But yeah, in terms of the group, we're hoping to, for anyone that's interested, we're going to try and do more around the stack and even some wider sessions on other Microsoft products as
That's
well this
awesome.
year.
That's awesome. Yeah, anytime. I'm so happy to be here and really appreciate all of you taking the time to be here as well.
No, big shout out to Brittany and Gov for organizing this community. Like I'm joining from Australia, so I keep following you guys. Whenever I have the right time to join, I do try to attend because the sessions are really informative. I attended the previous sessions from Peter, which he did on commerce, and I tried like you guys are famous across the globe, not just US.
No, we appreciate, and you always contribute as well, actually. It's very nice because it's not everyone's comfortable to talk and ask stuff, and it's good to get involved where we can.
Cool.
But yeah,
Awesome.
thanks everyone for joining.
All right. Thank you all.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Bye.
have a good night. Bye.
Good night.